Okay, is everything set up? I think it is. Everything over there appears to be turned off, which it should be. Everything over here should be turned on, so I think we're live. Quick adjustment to the microphone, and I think we're ready to go. Alright, good enough for me. Let's get this started. Hello, Shadowcat back, and we are back to work on the Eldar. So the last time we were here, we finished up the wide array of Eldar melee weapons. They really like their melee weapons, and all their melee weapons are horrifying. They really are. Like, there's not a single thing that they have in their arsenal that is not absolutely broken in some way. The Eldar are one of the most ridiculous things that I think I have ever seen in Warhammer. And I was already pretty familiar with Warhammer. Eldar are crazy. So, we're going to find out just how much worse the Eldar get today. Rolling up my sleeves because it's going to get crazy. I see that Blizz is in the chat. Hello, Blizz. Good to see you here this morning. I went through afterwards and I did a little bit of reformatting when it came to the stuff that we built last time. Oh, Tux is in the chat too. Hello, Tux. Good to see you there. So if we bring up our spreadsheet, I've got the force weapons chart up here. It's reformatted. Let's see. Tux says, I found a cat, also a cold solar dragon or something. I don't know, I never really inquired. I always imagined the blizzard star thing would be like, you're in a blizzard, but then you see this like shining point of light inside the blizzard, and so you follow that to safety. Or your inevitable doom, one or the other. I don't know, I never really inquired. That's just kind of my assumption. Also, kind of like when I saw Tuxedo Blackfoot, I just kind of assumed something fancy with black feet. It's not very creative. Also, JP is in. Hello, JP. Good to see you too. Anyway, getting back to the spreadsheets. JP says, yay, spreadsheets. That's right, I'm here to make spreadsheets fun. It'll be more fun when we actually get a chance to play with them. But for right now, it's just going to be fun spreadsheets. So last time we were here, we put together this chart to determine, we determined, wait, Blizz says that's actually the name meaning? Oh, I am awesome. I got it in 1. Wait, no, actually I got it in 2 because I said it could either be salvation or doom. So which one is it? Is it salvation or doom? Because we could go with the whole, like, will-o-wisp thing where the pretty lights just lead you into the swamp where you drown and die. You know what? Moving on. Anyway, we had to do our very first force weapons because when we came down here to, what was it? I think it was the last one we did. Right, the Witchblade. The Witchblades gave us our very first force weapons. Now, force weapons are not unique to the Eldar. The Imperium also has some force weapons, and I think somebody else had force weapons as well. But the idea is that a force weapon is essentially a psychic weapon. Not that the weapon itself is necessarily psychic, but when wielded by a psyker, it allows them to channel power through it the same way that a taser weapon can channel electricity from the battery to the discharge point. And so we had to develop a system for psykers, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, because I sat down afterward to really go through it. And what I've got is this, and I should have that. I should have had that sheet pulled up for Psyker levels. Let me go grab that real quick, so we have that as a reference. So, Psyker ranks, I think it was. Was it Psyker ranks? I don't know. Let me check the images. Images. Here we go. Yep. So let's go ahead and open that in a new tab. Wow, that is enormous. And I can't really make it... Well, no, I can make it smaller. Hold on. There we go. I can actually make it smaller. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring in the browser. There we go. Oh, wow, that fits perfect on the screen. Check that out. Alright, so we started working on the Psyker stuff a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about it. So, when I did this and we started rolling for things, we rolled a pretty high-level Psyker, actually. And when I did a few more rolls, I also rolled pretty high on every single one of them. So I broke everything down into percentages. Because everybody who makes a character will get a chance to roll for psychic potential on their character sheet. And at the way it's looking right now, everybody is probably going to have some kind of psychic potential. I'm not even sure if my numbers here add up. Let me do some quick math here. Let me get my calculator out. Let me make sure that everything actually adds up to 100%. Probably should have done this before. But 3.9 plus 4.3 plus 13.3 plus 25.4 plus 12.9 plus 39.1 plus 1.2 actually comes out to 100.1%. Now, I did have to do rounding on this, rounding up, rounding down, so coming 0.1% over is actually not surprising. So yeah, everything adds up. It's 100% with a margin of error, but I'm not sure if this is really representative. And I have two caveats here when I think about this. Number one, to start with, the chances of getting a Psyker is literally 1 in a million. And the reason why there are so very, very many Psykers in 40K is because it's because of scale. It's literally a 1 in a million chance of being a Psyker, but when you have billions to trillions of people packed into a hive city, 1 in a million is suddenly several thousand Psykers. I mean, if you have 1 in a million, then 100 million is 100 Psykers. A billion is 1,000 Psykers. I mean, 100 billion is now 10,000 Psykers, and 1 trillion is 100,000 Psykers in this one area. That's why there's so very many Psykers in 40K, even though they are incredibly rare. It's one of those scaling problems that most people never think about. It's like when you talk about a 1 in a million chance of something happening, well, that means that in a place like New York, it literally happens a few hundred times a day. So, on the one hand, Psykers are incredibly rare. On the other hand, because of scale, there are a lot of them. Then you add into the fact that all of the players will have main character syndrome, because they are the main characters, and the main characters are generally not just, normal people. Okay, it's not Steve from next door. You're heroes, you're heroic, you're strong, you're tough, you're smart, you're fast. Okay, you're powerful in some way. So having these numbers, it's not the worst thing in the world. In fact, I think that what we're looking at here is not like a 60% chance to be like super powerful. I think it's more like you have a 40% chance here to be underpowered. Because generally speaking, almost everybody is going to have some kind of psychic potential, I think. But this will get refined when we go into psychic powers in general. But we had to do this because we had to figure out how force weapons were going to work in the first place, and this is going to carry on into other things. Because I think we have to actually go back and revisit the Astartes at least. The Imperium just generally uses las guns. They do use flamers, they do use some plasma weapons, but all that's already carried. However, the Astartes have a lot of weapons that we didn't cover yet. So, probably jumped the gun on that one a little bit when we went into the Mechanicus. And that's my fault. I was just really excited about the Mechanicus. Still am. They're still fun. So anyway, we got this. I also adjusted some of the numbers a little bit. After all, if you are a null, if you're an Omega, you have no psychic power at all. So you literally just cannot use it. If you are a Psi, so you have only the very slightest touch of the warp, you get a whole 1 dice. And when we look at the force weapons, the discharge that you get is 1d4, 1d6, 1d8, 1d10. And so if you happen to be in the Psi category, the fact that you can discharge an additional 1d10 every 24 turns, it essentially means that this weapon is absolutely worthless to you. It sucks, but I mean, there it is. Let's see. JP says, I'm potentially a psycho? You could be. Although in tabletop games, we don't call them psychos. We call them murder hobos. And I'm advising you not to do it, because I will make bad things happen to your character. I will make lots of bad things happen to your character. I don't tolerate murder hobos very well. Okay then. So let's get to work on the actual purpose for today, and that is we are getting into the Eldar's ranged arsenal. So let's take a look at what exactly that is. We took a brief look before. But ranged weapons. So, the first thing is the Dragon's Breath Flamer. The Eldar use identical analogs to the Imperial Flamer, which function as a battlefield flamethrower. These weapons are carried by either Storm Guardians or can be mounted on Wraith Lords. And the thing is, we can skip this. Because if we come down to weapons, we look at Flame, I'm imagining that I can probably find it. Yep, here we go. Flamethrowers. Not only does Starfinder already have flamethrowers, but it has them in multiple different classifications. So, this flamethrower, it has a 15-foot range. The Salamander class is a 30-foot range. The rest of them are all 30-foot ranges. They all use petrol for their fuel, which that's like the only real difference. These use petrol. Technically in 40k they would be using, what's it called? Promethium, I think. If I remember right, it's Promethium. Either way, it doesn't matter. The point is that we already have flamethrowers, so we do not need to do those. Then we get into shuriken weapons, which we already have a start on, but we'll take a look anyway. Shuriken weapons are the most common weapon type among the craft world Eldar. These weapons are dependent on a solid core of ammunition, which is normally cylindrical, although many variants do exist. In fact, I think they all have variants, really. I think if you were to find a shuriken weapon that actually just fired discs, that would be the anomaly. When the weapon is fired, high-energy impulses shear off a monomolecular layer of the ammunition core before hurling the disc from the barrel of the weapon. Up to 100 shurikens can be fired in a 2-second burst, with a standard ammunition core sufficient to provide at least 10 such bursts before depletion. Did we read that before? I don't know if we ever read that before. So up to 100 shurikens can be fired in a 2-second burst, with a standard ammunition core sufficient to provide at least 10 such bursts before depletion. Interesting. I don't think that we ever looked at that. So, JP says shuriken buckshot. Not quite buckshot, no. Because buckshot is just like you're shooting out a cloud of buckshot. This is more like a machine gun. You know, like you would see back in World War I, where they would what's it called? Like the M1 something or other machine gun. Where they would pile like the sandbags around the tripod. It's belt fed. You'd have somebody there feeding the belt and another person actually shooting the gun. Picture that, except it's firing ninja stars. Okay, it's like it's a belt fed machine gun firing ninja stars. Except these ninja stars are literally so thin they're invisible. Because, you know, monomolecular, as in molecularly thin, as in like one atom thin, these things are literally invisible. You might be able to see them from the side, but I mean, you're still talking about something that is one molecule thin. It is so sheer that, like, it's not going to stop light. It's actually so thin that you could be hit by it and you probably wouldn't even realize it. You would only realize it when you got hit by like a whole bunch of these things and you were literally shredded. Because it's like, I don't know what exactly hit me. All I know is that my spleen is now in 7 different pieces. So yeah, that's more akin to what these things are like. However, when we were looking at this, we made the Scorpion's Claw Shuriken pistol. Now, we said that the capacity... Here's the thing. According to the rules, when it comes to an automatic weapon, and we looked at this before, for an automatic weapon, I didn't even put automatic on there, but for an automatic weapon, you have to empty the entire magazine. However, the shuriken weapons here said that they can fire up to 100 blades in a 2-second burst, with a standard ammunition core provided, or sufficient to provide 10 such bursts before depletion. I think we actually labored over this before, where I said that having this be automatic, and I really do have to fix this. So this needs to be automatic. There we go. So copy and paste. There we go. Yeah, I think that what we said before is that because because this thing is so incredibly powerful, and because it does come with a capacity of, in the case of the pistol, 500 rounds, meaning that you can hit basically an unlimited number of targets with it, it was a good trade-off. Because to fire automatically, you first have the number of rounds you have in your ammunition, which means that you go from having 500 shots to 250 shots, and then you just simply assign a shot to every target until you run out of ammo. If you only have a 20-shot magazine, that means that you can do a total of 10 people tops. For shuriken weapons, that's 250 targets. I think that's the reason why we kept that as being as it is. Otherwise, it's a lot of ammunition to keep track of. Well, not really, actually. Well, if we were going to think about it, now is the time to think about it. Tux says, I do say if a person is capable of understanding their own spleen in 7 different places, that in and of itself is impressive. No arguments there. Huh. I should be dead, or passed out at least. Weird. Continues fighting for the Emperor. I mean, shock is a hell of a drug. That's all I gotta say about that. We literally have cases of that every day where people get shot and that's it. They're just like, oh, did I get stung by something? And they keep working or they keep fighting or doing whatever, and then it's like, dude, you're bleeding. It's like, I am? It's like, you've been shot. I was? These things happen. Okay. Yeah, like I said, if we're gonna do this, we gotta do this now because we are now officially on shuriken weapons. So, do we want to go through and actually change this? I'll have to come back up here and make something special. I think I'm going to, actually. Yeah, I think that I'm going to. And the reason I think I'm going to change this is because, one of the interesting things that it said, and I think this is something I'm going to use to my advantage. It says here under automatic, when you use full attack with a weapon in automatic mode, you attack a cone with a range of half of the weapon's increment. This uses all the weapon's remaining ammunition. Roll 1 attack against each target in the cone, starting with those closest to you. One of the things that I think that I may enforce is if you use one of these weapons in automatic fire, I think that I'm going to actually enforce friendly fire. That is to say that when you hit, or when you attack the cone, you are going to hit everything in the cone. You will hit every enemy, you will hit every object, and you will hit every ally inside that cone. This means that if somebody has a melee weapon or, you know, the enemies are getting close to you, it may actually remove your capacity to use automatic fire. I mean, because you get to engage, and let's be honest here, if we can fire 100 of these shurikens, because that's what it says. Up to 100 shurikens can be fired in a 2-second burst. First off, we have that number. And because we have to apply two rounds to every target. So that's 50. A cone of 50 things, yeah, your allies are probably getting hit too. So we're going to write up some special rules for shuriken weapons here. And then we'll go back and I'll adjust that then. So, first things first, shuriken weapons. What do they have here? Shuriken pistols, shuriken catapults. These are the rifles, I believe. And then shuriken cannons, which are vehicle mounted. And then there are shrieker cannons. These employ shurikens impregnated with virulent genetic toxins that cause the targets to explode and spray acidic blood in all directions. Have I mentioned the Eldar are insane yet? Okay. So basically we just have pistols, rifles, and cannons. When it comes to the pistols, we can actually come up here and copy this. Like, entirely. So we're going to copy and paste. And I'm also going to remove all of this stuff. There we go. So for this, we can delete that because this is just a shuriken pistol. We don't need this, we don't need this. So, shuriken pistol. Shuriken pistol 1. Let's drag that down. Levels. These are the most basic weapons that an Eldar uses. As such, it's not going to be this complicated. Now, seeing as how the Eldar are going to have a roughly 2 level-ish, because I still haven't really fixed this yet. Because of everything going on here, with them having like a total of 30 RP just for them all being psychic by default, and I should really change this. So this is like, not 0, but re-roll if red or orange. And that doesn't make sense on its own, but when you look at the chart that we made, it makes more sense. So with 30 RP alone for that, and roughly every 10 or so racial points giving you another level, we're looking at somebody who's got at least a +2 level adjustment, meaning that Eldar will not necessarily get their first profession until like level 3. So having this actually start at level 3, I think, is a benefit. So this is going to be 3, 8, 13, 18. So the minute that you pick up your first profession, whatever that happens to be, then you will be able to use your first shuriken weapons. Okay, now this is just a regular shuriken pistol though. This is not tied to another weapon like the Scorpion's Claw is. As such, this needs to be a little bit more versatile than the Scorpion's Claw is. The damage, I think, is actually fine, but the range, I think, we're going to increase. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and increase the range, because it is an effective range. Let's make one thing very clear. This is your effective range. Or maybe I don't change that. Maybe I should change the other one. Actually, I'm inclined to knock this one down. It will make the automatic part of it rather pointless, because if I knock it down to something like 20 feet, that means that it's only automatic within 10 feet. It's not a big cone. However, it is still useful. Or if I made it... If I knocked it down to 30 feet, actually. If I knock it down to 30 feet, that means that automatic is a 15-foot cone, and 15-foot cones are pretty common, actually. I think I'll do that. So 30, no, not 30 semicolon, 30 feet. Copy. There we go. Okay. Now, as for the Shuriken pistol, what are some comparable ranges for... Nope, not there. Here we go. For pistols in here. Particularly, I want to look at projectile pistols. So this is rifles. Here we go. Pistols. Projectile pistols. Semi-auto pistol goes 30 feet. Semi-auto pistol advanced goes 60 feet, effectively. Even the highest level semi-auto pistol goes 60 feet. And then we get into the rocket pistols, which go 80 feet. Needler pistols go 40 feet. Yeah, these all still have 40 feet. And then Cestus pistols, because these are punch guns, they just have reach. So whatever your reach is, basically doubled. Is this appropriate? I mean, I'll be honest with you. All I say all the time I spent at the range, like I spent a lot of time at the range. The time that I have spent at the range, 60 feet is a hell of a shot. Usually at the range, they measure things in yards. 60 feet? That is 20 yards. That is a hell of a shot with a pistol. I don't think that I would want to exceed that. Yeah, actually I think that's pretty good. I think we'll stick with 60 feet. So we're going to bump this up. That'll be 60 feet then. 80 feet, I think, is maybe pushing it a little bit. 80 feet would be... like... I don't know, 28 yards, something like that. That's a pretty long shot. Now, mind you, I am basically blind, so that's probably coloring my my opinions here. I don't know what the average for people is when it comes to firing pistols, but I do think that when it comes to like self-defense classes, they train with like, I don't know, self-defense, they train for like 3 or 4 yards, isn't it? JP says, we call that a marksman. I mean, probably. If you could hit a target at 20 yards or 30 yards, yeah, probably send that person to the sniper corps. Or rather, just sniper school. Either way, yeah. It's probably not a shot that I'm going to be making. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to change some rules here, and I'm going to take out the analog and the automatic. And I'm just going to put in here Shuriken. Because we'll give special rules to Shuriken weapons. It would also if I could spell it. There we go. Hey, Jeffrey made it! Hello, Jeffrey. Good to see you here. We're making weapons of terrifying destruction. There we go. Alright, so what are going to be the rules for Shurikens? So this, of course, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this here. Oh, JP says apparently there's like 3 tiers. There's Proficient, Marksman, and Sharpshooter. I wonder if we have numbers assigned to each of those. I mean, we probably do. You probably have to pass something to be regarded as a marksman or a sharpshooter. I don't think I even qualify as proficient, honestly. I mean, I have a gun. God help me if I ever have to use it. Which, you know, is a terrible thing to say, but unfortunately that just kind of makes me normal. Okay. So, this is going to be a one-handed firearm. And it's going to be a shuriken weapon. So what does shuriken weapon mean? Since shuriken weapons have such an insanely high capacity, the shuriken weapon is going to have the automatic property. So it's going to be automatic, and it's going to cost 100 rounds. Yeah, it's going to be automatic, 100 rounds, half range cone, targets all foes, friends, and objects up to 50. Because, I mean, that's just how many shots you get running in automatic mode. Actually, here's what I'm going to do, because I need to add another line here. So put that there. And under 100... follows normal automatic rules. Alright, that should be sufficient, I think. That means that basically, however many that you have here, and let's just, we'll pretend that we fired this gun a few times. So we'll roll a number here. Okay, so we've been fighting with this gun for a while. It has 283 rounds left in it. So we're in a position where, you know, we're taking cover behind a corner. There's a whole bunch of orcs charging down that corridor ahead of us. We just reach out, we fire this thing in automatic. We can fire a grand total of 100 rounds this turn, so up to 50 targets. We just spray shurikens down this corridor, hitting every orc, every crate, and Jim Bob up there, who decided they were going to take their knife out and go charging at the orc horde. Yeah, that was a stupid decision. But he's getting shot too because he's in front of you. Shuriken weapons are going to be completely indiscriminate. Which I think it suits them. So I think that'll work for the Shuriken pistol. Now we just need the Shuriken rifles. And I chose 1d10 because why? I think we're going based off of the other pistols here, which are doing d12s. I think it just evened things out and made it into D10s, because they do change from D6s to D12s for weird reasons. JP says, "Damn it, Jim." Yes, damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a pincushion. Congratulations, now you're both. Alright, so that's shuriken pistols, shuriken catapults. So the shuriken catapult is going to be a two-handed firearm. We can copy this. Actually, we can copy all of this, now that I think about it. We can copy this. And shuriken catapult 1, and then we'll just copy this down. Now, much the same, the levels are going to be the same because this is something that any Eldar can pick up as soon as they've been trained a little bit. JP says, "What? Catapult? Look, that's just what they called it." Okay? Just to make sure, the shuriken catapults of the Craftworld Eldar are two-handed weapons, okay? Two-handed weapons. It's not that kind of catapult. The Dire Avenger Aspect Warriors carry similar weapons known as Avenger Shuriken Catapults that are shuriken catapults with detachable laser sights. Because now we're playing with lasers! The Exarch may call forth the Dire Avengers to empty all their ammunition by blasting it out in an uncontrollable storm of blades known as a Blade Storm. The shuriken catapults are the only standard issue weapons, so they are not very strong, but since Guardians travel in heavy numbers, all the shuriken catapults' combined strength could rip through even the many plates of a Lehman Russ tank. So yeah, it's basically just a shuriken rifle. Okay, that's all. Nothing to get too excited about except for the fact that, you know, it is a shuriken rifle. As such, let's go look at rifles. And here we go. Projectiles. We've got needler rifles. No, here we go. Hunting rifles. Hunting rifles do 1d8 piercing damage. What else we got? Crossbolters. Seeker rifles do 2d8. This is just a regular rifle, right? Oh, Seeker Rifle, Advanced Elite Paragon Tactical. These are single-shot projectile weapons. Actually, we should probably be looking for an automatic rifle. Yeah, here we go. Combat Rifle, 12-round magazine, single-shot, semi-auto. But what about a machine gun? Can we get a machine gun? Magnetar Rifle, Seeker Rifle... Well, okay, hold on a second. This Magnetar rifle here is an automatic. It uses magnetic fields to accelerate magnetic rounds to high speeds. It's a rail rifle. Okay, but that's actually appropriate because the shuriken rifles use something similar. They don't use magnetic rails, they use a gravity source. Same concept, just different principles. And this is doing 8d8. Okay. If that's only doing 8d8, and that's a level 19 rifle, maybe I've overestimated the pistols here. Maybe I should knock these damages down. Yeah, I'm thinking we should knock these damages down. I thought it was a little kind of insane in the first place, but I was willing to roll with it. I'm going to knock these down to D6s. So we're going to make those D6s. And we can go with D8s, I think, for the rifles. Again, these are automatic weapons. So, even though it only says it does like 2d6, keep in mind that this can potentially do 2d6 damage to up to 50 people in an area. Not to mention that the catapults are going to have a much, much longer range. This rifle here has a range of 120 feet. That means that in automatic mode, it is a 60-foot cone. And I mean, since I've got this pulled up here, let me do something. Let me go ahead and turn the grid back on. Okay? Let's turn the grid back on. JP just says, nah, just say the pistols use hollow points. Eldar wouldn't know what a hollow point was if you showed it to him. Hollow points would be considered too humane. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller. Is this even big enough? Where's a ruler? Here's a ruler. So, 120-foot range. That means that if you were standing here... Ah, this is perfect. Okay, this is a 120-foot range. So, just... Can that go away? Thank you. Give me some tokens here. Here we go. I got a kitty. And... Oh, wait, I'm on the GM layer. Hold on a second. I'm on the GM layer. Let's go to the token layer. Things show up better. So, I've got a kitty here. And I've got this guy with a spear. Okay? And if we measure this, as we already did, this is 120 feet. Meaning that he can shoot this cat, and I don't know why you would, but, you know, if you wanted to, not that you would, you could shoot this cat. However, when used in automatic mode, does it say what kind of cone, or does it just say a cone? It says you can attack in a cone with half the range. Does this actually go anywhere? No, it doesn't. 404 not found. You suck! Okay, I'm going to assume that it is a 45-degree cone. Let's see if I can find that. So, cone. I have a few assets here that I bought. But I'm not seeing a 45-degree cone. Wow, I really do not have anything for a 45-degree cone. And the web search is not helping. Well, that's a radius. Okay, well, obviously one of the assets that I need to get are going to be templates. I wonder if I just type in 45 and I can get 45 degrees something. Nope, I got a Colt 45. I guess I should have expected that. Okay, well... You know what? I know that I have this somewhere. Let me check, purchases, because I've got all kinds of spell effects. One of these has got to be a 45 degree. Here we go, a cone of cold. Alright. So, now that I got this, by default this is 45 degrees. If I wanted to extend it to be like that, I would have to detach it from the grid, so I'm not going to do that yet. But you get the idea. That's 45 degrees at 10 feet. However, this catapult has a range of 120 feet. That means that it can go half of this distance. So 60 feet is 12 squares. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to say that this is a drawing, so it's not bound by the grid anymore. Just to give you an idea of how much damage this rifle can possibly do, even if we bump down the damage. Because like if I have to look at this and interpret this, we're talking about, on this back row alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hits. And remember, this thing can hit up to 50. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. We will be able to hit 50 targets in this cone before we're 2/3 of the way back. Just to give you an idea of the sheer terrifying power of one of these shuriken weapons. As it points out here, the Exarch may call the Dire Avengers to empty all of their ammunition. So we're talking about getting an entire team of these Dire Avenger Aspect Warriors. So let's just say that maybe you as players want to play these Dire Avenger Warriors. So there's 4 players, there's 4 of you. If you were to all line up roughly and fire your weapons forward like this, you could hit a maximum of 50 people 4 times. Just to put this into context. So individually, these rifles may only be doing like D6s or D8s. But once you put them together, they're not fair. This is not fair. There's nothing fair about this. So, I'm going to keep these as D8s. And that's going to be 6d8. Range is going to be 100 and... No, not 1200. Dear God. Be a sniper rifle. Okay, criticals. We're not going to have criticals. Capacity, though, is 1,000. Usage is only 1. Bulk is going to be 2. So copy this all the way down. I'm going to change this up a little bit because these are technically analog. They are not energy weapons. So I will have to add that back in before. JP says, so 50 targets times 4 hits equals a 4-part spleen. We want the 7-part spleen, as advertised. Well, keep in mind that, that's only 1 turn. And these rifles can fire 1,000 rounds in automatic mode with a capacity of 1,000, meaning that on the first turn, you get a 4-part spleen. Well, technically a 5-part, I guess. Well, hold on. Let's think about this. If the first target hits your spleen, now you have 2 of them. The second hits 1 part of your spleen, now you have 3 pieces. The third hits another piece, now you have 4 pieces. The fourth one hits, now you have 5 pieces. Because you started with 1 spleen, so now you have 5 pieces of spleen. But that was just the first volley. We can continue doing this 9 more times, which would actually lead you to have several dozen pieces of spleen inside of you. So not only is it wrong, but I'm actually underselling it. There we go. And I can also put this down here. So these are going to be analog, they're going to be shuriken. Because it's a rifle, it's going to be 2 bulk because they're a little bit heavier. Tux says, role players know a lot about dice, but they can never seem to... And I can't see that because of the stupid heart. I know a way to get that. There we go. Now I can see past the stupid heart in the corner. Tux says role players know a lot about dice, but they can never seem to get a D8. Well, it's not to get, it's a D8. It's an 8-sided die. I love D8s. D8s are great, not just because, D8s are a great number, but they also double as even better, they double as better D4s because D4s don't like to roll. They hit the table and they usually just, they stuck. D8s, though, D8s actually do like to roll. So you take your D8, you roll it, you just cut the number in half, roughly, and you got your D4. I love my D8s. They're great. And Jeffrey says, I hate everything in that direction. Get rid of it. Essentially, yeah. They talk about, like, microwave weapons. This is a directed blender. Okay, it is a directed blender. You just point this in the direction of whatever you want turned into mush, and congratulations, it's now baby food. So, what could possibly be worse than this? The answer to that is an even bigger one. Shuriken cannons. Most vehicles of the Eldar race have massive shuriken cannons that are twice the size of ordinary shuriken catapults and are much stronger. Some vehicles, such as the Wave Serpent, carry twin-linked shuriken cannons that can fire simultaneously in a rapid fashion. One example of this type of weapon is carried by the Morgan Ra, the Harvester of Souls. I'm pretty sure souls are not the only thing that thing is harvesting. That thing will harvest your soul, and it will harvest the wheat before lunch. So, we have our first, I think this is the first, I think we have our first vehicle weapon. So, let's bump back to the Tau, and we'll borrow the vehicle template from them, I think. No, wait, this is their support systems. Tau Arsenal, here we go. Vehicle weapons, here we go. So we'll copy that, and we're just going to say, this is a shuriken cannon. Now, here's where things are going to get really, really interesting. Because it is a shuriken cannon. It is a vehicle weapon. Right? It's a vehicle weapon. But it's also a shuriken cannon. You know what that means? We get to copy the shuriken special ability. So now it's a vehicle weapon that can fire fully automatic in a cone. And I mean, that's exactly what you want, right? You want a vehicle to roll up on you and then just start mowing down literally everything in front of you. I don't feel good about I don't feel good about what I'm doing here. But that's what we're gonna have to do. Okay, so shuriken cannon range. What is the range on this thing going to be? Also, JP says the shuriken industry must really be big business in 40K. From what I understand, it actually kinda is. So, the thing about shuriken weapons, and we might have to go into shuriken weapons to actually look at this. So it says, shuriken weapons are the primary type of anti-personnel weapons by the Eldari. Utilizing gravitic pulses, monomolecular disc of plastic crystal is taken from the weapon's magazine. Accelerated down the barrel, yes, we know this. However, the weapons magazine is pushed up by a degree of nanometers. The cycle repeats. Yes, we got that. See, the disadvantage of shuriken weapons is the lack of rifling in the shuriken weapon's barrel. It reduces the accuracy drastically, therefore reducing its maximum range. That's actually really interesting. Maybe we should have accounted for that, because the rifle that we use as an example is rifled. So maybe we should bump down the range on these a little bit. Let's see. Shuriken weapons are manufactured into 3 separate categories: pistols, catapults, and heavy weapons mounted on defense platforms such as vehicles and aircraft, which we'll get into later. More importantly, though, oh, it doesn't actually mention it in here. I don't remember where it mentioned it, but essentially everything that they're using is made out of their special material, Wraithbone, I think it's called. And Wraithbone, honestly, Wraithbone, the only way that I can think to describe Wraithbone is the same way that they used Songwood in the Wheel of Time. We didn't cover Songwood when we did our Wheel of Time module. But the idea in the Wheel of Time was that you had people, particularly the Ogier, who could actually use a form of magic that worked with trees. And by using music and songs, they could make trees grow, they could make them produce fruit and do things like that. They could also mold wood using song. And this meant that they could create solid pieces of wood and furniture that were one piece. There were no seams, there were no fasteners, there was no notching or joinery. It was a single piece of wood that had been curled and bent and crafted into shape. Wraithbone appears to be very similar, which is why there is so much emphasis within the Eldar placed into making beautiful works. Even when it comes to things like their swords, their rifles, shields, anything like that. The better you are at, I forget what they're called, but the better you are at creating things with Wraithbone, the better your stuff is. And so they said that all the shurikens tend to be very elaborate, very ornate, and that's because you have people that can actually create these very distinctive patterns out of the block of whatever that's going in there. They consider it to be a work of art. So the shuriken industry being really big business, it probably is actually. Because you will probably have a lot of people who are going into shuriken production. Just because, I mean, number one, there's always a demand for it. Number two, it allows you to be creative. Those are two really good reasons right there. You're set for life and you get to do what you love. Jeffrey said, back to the high school war... I regret ever doing that. I never should have done that. Back to the high school Warhammer story, who would Krieg be? If I remember right, Krieg, that would be the Death Corps. I do believe it's the Death Corps of Krieg, which is part of the Imperial Guard, and the Imperial Guard are just the other students. They're the normies there, okay? They're just normal students. So who would Krieg be? Krieg would essentially be the kids that nobody wants to hang around. Okay? They would be the ones that are kind of weird, they kind of smell bad, that are kind of dirty. You know, they're the ones that are just kind of creepy generally, and nobody wants to be around them. Okay? That's who Krieg would be. And by the way, for those who are wondering about some of the other ones, Cadia, that would be the kids whose house burned down. Yeah, I went there. Okay, what else? JP says, I'm creating the war crimes. Well, yes, that is true, but I mean, I'm not the one that conceived of them. I'm just putting them on paper. Jeffrey says, isn't it a war crime? Oh, but it isn't a war crime in their world. It would never be a war crime the first time. I mean, that's true. JP also says the ROTC. No, ROTC would probably be more Space Marine territory. As a matter of fact, like, if I had to put the ROTC into the whole high school thing, the ROTC would absolutely, undebatably, okay? Uncontested, the ROTC would be Ultramarines. Go ahead, catch me outside. Jeffrey says the Eldar are the rich kid. Did you not see on the Discord where that was? Because we did this already. The Eldar are the pretty girls. Okay? That's who the Eldar are. They're the pretty girls. The Eldar are the pretty girls. The Space Marines are the jocks. Although the Ultramarines could easily be ROTC. I'll give you that one. The Mechanicus, they're the nerds. Okay, they're holed up in a lab somewhere. The Tau, they're the geeks. They're the ones that, you know, are like they got their whole group in like a classroom or a table or something, and they're always trying to recruit new people into their club. The Orcs are the bullies. Okay, they're the ones that come in with like leather jackets and spikes on and everything else, and all they do is want to beat up kids. I have it written down somewhere else, I think. But yeah, I regret doing that. I never should have done that. That was bad on me. Okay, anyway, vehicle weapons. I need to go back and refresh myself. Ah, I hate being back on this page. This vehicle thing is so bad. It really is. Okay. What do we got? So, we have bombs. Those all come from flying, though. Howitzer cannon. Well, howitzer cannon has a range of 5 miles. Maybe not. Railguns, however, have a range of 3,000 feet. Jeffrey says, it is a good idea to be fair. I know it's a good idea. I really hate that it's a good idea, because it should not be a good idea. I've done a bad thing, and I feel bad for having done it. Okay, so we're going to compare the shuriken cannon to the railgun. It's obviously not going to go 3,000 feet. I think we'll have the range on it. We'll say 1,500 feet. JP says, I see it as an animated series. Somebody call Games Workshop then. Somebody call Games Workshop. Somebody call Amazon. Somebody call Netflix. Oh, and maybe somebody actually call someone who can animate the thing, because I can't. Does anybody here know how to animate a cartoon? Like, I can write the story. I can easily write things all day long. I'm actually really good at it. But I'm not an animator. I don't even draw. It's why I'm learning how to do AI generation with Stable Diffusion. Now I can finally create things, kinda. So if I picture something in my head, I could say, huh, I bet Stable Diffusion could probably draw that for me. No, I need somebody who can like actually draw, though. So how about that? You contact Amazon, you contact Netflix, go ahead and contact Disney as well. I mean, they're burning money right now, so why not? You get me funding from any of them, find me a team that can actually animate this thing, and I will write the script. And I swear to God, if this is the thing that puts me on the map, I don't know what I'm going to do. Not going to harm myself because now I'm suddenly successful, but it's like, am I proud of what I've done? I'm not sure if I'm proud of what I've done. I think that I would feel roughly the same way as whoever did the Teletubbies did. Remember the Teletubbies? Teletubbies were massively popular. Massively successful. And you know that there is some guy who goes home at night, alright, he sits down in his very comfortable armchair in his very large and luxurious house, and he pours himself a fifth of scotch, and he sits there, and he takes a long drink, and he's like, my God, what have I done? I may have this house, I have all the money. But is it worth it? Are there some things that were just never meant for the light of day? And in the back of his head, he just hears the echoes of Lala, Pookie, as these colorful characters come running over a grassy hill. And then the scene just kind of pulls back and fades through the wall. The lights turn off, and then there's a gunshot. That's probably where I would end up if I actually did Warhammer 40k, the high school drama. Yeah, that went dark. But you know what? We're doing 40k. We're allowed to be dark. 40k is nothing but dark. Alright, anyway, now that we're done with that fun subject. Alright, damage for this thing. That's right, vehicle damage is done in dice. I'm going to go ahead and up the damage on this thing. Just because I'm shortening the range. So I'm going to say it's going to be +3 dice. Size. We can keep this as medium. And special. It's a shuriken. So it is limited 1,000. And it is a shuriken weapon. And JP says, that's dark. I'm just like, yeah, it is dark. Like I said, we're doing 40k right now. We are allowed to be dark. If you came here and you were not ready for dark, like, this is not the module for you. You do not want to be a part of 40k. Like, this is going to be tepid. This game that we're designing here, this will be so very tepid. Because this is going to be just a straightforward adventure story played in the Warhammer 40k setting. Like, you're going to be, or at least have the ability to be, things like psychers. But you're not going to have to worry about being picked up by the Sisters of Silence and stuffed onto a black ship. Which is something that I actually got to introduce somebody to the other day. Because we were discussing 40k and things like that, and I brought up the Sisters of Silence, and they're like, well, what do the Sisters of Silence do? And I'm like, oh, what do the Sisters of Silence do? Let me tell you all about the Sisters of Silence. It all starts off with this group called the Adeptus Sororitas, and it just goes on from there. But if you're unfamiliar with 40k, and you're unfamiliar enough that you don't know who the Sisters of Silence are, remember that we have this listing right here of all the different psychic levels. Now, on this end, you have Alpha. Now, what is Alpha? Okay? First off, before we can say what Alpha is, we have to understand what psychic powers are. Psychic powers are powers that are drawn into our world from what is called the Immaterium. And we'll get more into the Immaterium when we do FTL travel and psychic powers in general. But the Immaterium is like an entirely separate dimension. The Immaterium is essentially the manifestation of all of our emotions. The reason why the Chaos Gods exist as they do, why we have Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh, is because when you have enough emotional power in one place, it can actually take form. Khorne is the actual physical incarnation of wrath, rage, dignity, honor, all of these things that drive people to fight. Okay? And I do have to emphasize, it is the incarnation of wrath, rage, anger, but also honor, dignity, obligation. Because all of these things drive people to conflict and war and bloodshed. The same thing is true with Nurgle. Nurgle is fear, sickness, desire for change, desire for relief, things like that. Tzeentch is really all about knowledge, ambition, invention, discovery. And Slaanesh is really just excess in all of its forms. So the more people believe, the more people feel these things, they eventually grow to be powerful enough that they can manifest themselves in the Immaterium. Why is it called the Immaterium? Because in our material space, we have rules. We have things like gravity, time, we have physics, and physics including things like the strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, we have electromagnetism. Okay, we have all of these things. In the Immaterium, they don't exist. So, by traveling through the Immaterium, and like I said, we'll get to this more in FTL, you can travel through the Immaterium, and you can go several light years in one day. You could go the equal number of light years in 3 years. Because nothing there follows rules and nothing there makes sense. So what Psykers do is Psykers are able to draw some of that power from the Immaterium into the material world, and that means that the reason why Psykers are so very, very, very dangerous is because Psykers can unleash power that is literally unbound. And when it comes to Alpha class Psykers, you're talking about people who are like just one rung below the Emperor of Mankind. People who can literally reshape reality just by feeling it. So that's alpha levels, and alpha levels can literally just look at something, imagine that it doesn't exist, and it won't exist anymore. I mean, think of like the most powerful superheroes from comics. People who literally do not have limits on their powers, those are your alpha level Psykers. Omegas, on the other hand, literally don't exist. And I say literally don't exist because they have zero presence in the warp. Okay? As far as the Immaterium is concerned, they are a glaring dark spot. Okay? They are the black hole of the Immaterium. The reason being, and well, to that end rather, alphas can throw as much power as they want at an omega, and an omega is literally a sink for all of that. But here's the problem with that. Alphas are terrifying because of their incredible power, but omegas are also an aberration. The reason why they're called here a pariah, okay, this is not a mistake. The reason why they're called a pariah is because that's how they're treated. Omegas, see, most normal people fall into here. This Chi, Phi, Upsilon, Tau, Sigma area. That's where most normal people sit. Every single person has a very, very small amount of psychic potential. Not enough to do anything with, but enough that you exist inside the warp. But because omegas and psis actually suck in psychic energy, omegas and psis, these nulls, blanks, and pariahs, when they talk about somebody coming in and literally sucking the life out of a room, that is literally what they do. Nobody wants to be around a blank. It is uncomfortable to be around them. It's unpleasant. It's weird. It's strange. It's the kind of thing that makes your skin itch. It makes it so you can't sit still. You want to do literally anything you can to get away from a blank. But here's the thing. That's how these people feel. That feeling gets worse the higher up you go, to the point where if you are, say, a manifesting or powerful psyker, okay, maybe you are a sanctioned psyker for the Imperium, and you come into contact with a null. Sanctioned psykers will literally drop to their knees and begin clawing their eyes out, ripping their ears off, and peeling their own skin off of their muscles in the presence of a blank. Because the more powerful you are, the more severe the reaction is to being around a null. Now, how does this translate to going back to how dark 40K is? One thing to keep in mind is that the Emperor is sitting on a throne. Second thing to know about that throne needs batteries. Okay? It does not plug into the wall. It needs batteries. Third thing to know, the batteries are people. Yes, the batteries are made of people. Tell everyone. Specifically, the batteries are psykers. So, what the Sisters of Silence do is they go from planet to planet to planet. Remember how we talked about earlier? How if you have a population of several 100 billion or even 1 trillion, that is hundreds of thousands of psykers. They go from planet to planet and they gather psykers. And they pack them onto these ships and they take them back to Holy Terra. However, here's the thing. Remember how we just talked about how powerful some of these guys get, where alphas are literally the incarnation of stars and can reshape the galaxy with a thought? Even if you're not going to be picking up any of those, but you're just picking up a whole bunch of Omicrons through Edas, what do you think happens if you're going to put a whole bunch of those people together in one ship? Not good things, no. So, how do you handle that? Well, that's where the Sisters of Silence come in. Why are they called the Sisters of Silence? Because they're all blanks. All of them. And you're going to put a whole bunch of psykers onto a ship filled with blanks. Remember what we just talked about? Remember how I just told you psykers react to being around blanks? So you're going to throw all of these psykers onto this ship, run by a whole bunch of blanks, for God knows how many weeks, months, or years it takes to make their circuit, and get back to Holy Terra so they can be plugged into the Golden Throne. And during this time, they are in the presence of the most miserable thing they could possibly imagine. They are kept in cells that make Guantanamo Bay look like Disneyland, where they are blasted with static noise. They are wrapped in clothing that is filled with pins and needles and stuff like that. They're kept in flashing lights. They are not allowed to sleep. They're barely fed. All these things that they cannot manifest any psychic powers. And these ships can carry hundreds to thousands of these psykers, again, for weeks, months, or years at a time. All so that we can bring them back to Holy Terra, plug them into the Golden Throne, and literally turn their bodies into pure psychic energy, and then drain that psychic energy to keep what's it called? The Astra Telepathica? No, wait, that's not that. I don't remember it now. Anyway, to keep the Golden Throne going so that the warp network stays online. 40K gets dark. And again, I've said it before, but if you're interested in more, I recommend Luton. Go look at some of his videos on the worst jobs in 40K. They're fun. Wear a helmet. JP says, how many more people do we need for the tabletop game? I'm still waiting on one more person to join. Again, the first tabletop game will be a Star Trek game, not a 40K game. So if you're interested in Star Trek, I mean, we're good for it. Let me check my my roster here. Jeffrey, you might already be on it. No, Jeffrey, you are not on the list. Jeffrey, if you are interested in playing with us, I know you're on the Discord already, so hit up the Behind the Screen channel, and if you are interested, let me know what your availability is. And if I have 4 players with similar availability, then I will be able to start putting this together, and we will begin that conversation. I mean, we gotta have 4 people with similar availability. It's not just having 4 people in general. I gotta be able to put the team together, okay? This is the Blues Brothers here. I'm trying to get the band together. Tuck says, the last thing to mention, the throne must be fed with humans, because if it wasn't, humanity would have been dead probably around 30K. So, human sacrifice is good in 40K. Okay, here's where I actually fail. Alright, this is where I really fail. I'm not good when it comes to dates and names and things like that. Technically speaking, we have only needed to sacrifice Psychers to the Golden Throne since the Golden Throne was needed, which is to say that by the end of the Horus Heresy, after Horus mortally wounded the Emperor, and the Emperor was put on the Golden Throne and hooked up to it, that's when we started to need to do this. And even then, I'm not necessarily sure, because presumably the Golden Throne worked on its own for a while. We also have to remember that the Golden Throne is a lost technology. When it was made, the Golden Throne probably worked just fine, and we probably did not need Psychers to keep it going. But over time, as the knowledge to actually build and repair the Golden Throne was lost, that's probably when we needed to get more Psychers in to keep the Emperor going. Because I'm not sure the Golden Throne is actually keeping him alive at all. It could simply be his own psychic potential keeping him going. Kind of like Darth Scion, if you ever played Knights of the Old Republic 2. Which, if you haven't, a little bit of a spoiler, but not really much of one. In Knights of the Old Republic, you fight 2 Sith Lords. Darth Scion and Darth Nihilus. Now, Darth Nihilus is no longer a physical being. He's like this manifestation of the Force, and he's the living incarnation of hunger. Which makes him kind of the polar opposite of Darth Scion. Darth Scion is dead. I mean, you actually get a report on him in the very beginning of the game where they talk about his body. Practically every single bone in his body is broken. All of his organs have been shattered, punctured, or exploded. His muscles are torn. His skin is cracked. He is a walking corpse. The only reason he is still conscious, cognizant, and mobile is because he is essentially the Sith version of a Force ghost. He just hasn't gotten to the ghost part yet. He is literally using the dark side of the Force to animate his own body. and to keep himself alive. I think that might be where the Emperor is right now, literally using the psychic power of the warp to keep himself going. Hence the need for 1,000 psychers a day. And no, that is not wrong. It takes 1,000 psychers a day to keep the Golden Throne going. So not only do you have all the stuff from the Sisters of Silence and the Black Ships, but we just keep adding scale. More scale, more scale. After all, it's like they said, you know, one murder is a tragedy. A handful is a crisis. 1 million, though, is a statistic. And 40K is all about these statistics. Anyway, long rambling rant done. I think we're done with the Shuriken Cannon, because that's really all we need. I mean, it's a vehicle weapon, it's got the dice, it's got everything. It's fine. So what do we have left? Shuriken pistols, Shuriken catapults, Shuriken cannons, and then Shrieker cannons. You know what? No. Just no. I'm not doing it. Okay, I'm not there. I have limits. Alright, I have limits. These man-portable Shuriken cannons are carried by the Death Jesters of the Webway and the Vipers of the Saimhan Craft World. Shrieker cannons employ shurikens impregnated with a virulent genetic toxin that causes their targets to explode and spray acidic blood in all directions that can damage even the most heavily armored foes. Although these weapons are rarely seen on the battlefront, they are powerful weapons that can terrify even the most battle-worn veterans of the Space Marines. Yeah, I'm not doing it. It says it's rare. It's rare for a reason. And it's wrong. Okay, and it's wrong in the course of 40K. This is just ridiculous. Okay? Even Spinal Tap's dials don't go up that high. We're not doing Shrieker cannons. We're moving on. Alright, laser weapons. Technically they have prism weapons. They have bright lances, they have scatter lasers, pulse lasers, last blasters, but these are all just laser weapons. And I do not see the need to get these. The only thing that we might possibly need would be the long rifle, which is a sniper rifle. But that assumes that we didn't do this already. I know we did sniper rifles for plasma weapons. Let's see, for Tau. I don't think we did, like, any real laser weapons for Tau. Let's see. Recruit, marker lights, fusion weapons. Pulse rifles. Pulse rifles are just plasma weapons, so that's not that. No, we didn't do that. What about the Mechanicus? The Mechanicus has radium weapons. Let's see. Phosphor weapons. Cognis weapons. Galvanic weapons. Those are electric, though. They have plasma weapons. Okay, nobody's actually done a laser sniper rifle then. That's fine. But also not something we need to spend time on. I can do that later on my own. We do not need to spend time making a laser sniper rifle. It's super simple. We already know how it's going to work. Not important. So, plasma weapons. Star cannons. Plasma missiles. So while the Eldar launcher is capable of launching a standard crack missile like most missile launchers, the weapon can also fire plasma missiles. A plasma missile upon detonation explodes in a large area, negating cover and piercing medium armor with ease. I'm not sure there's a whole lot that we really need to do here. I'm thinking about it, and it says here, like their Imperial counterparts, the Eldar make use of plasma weaponry in various forms. While Eldar plasma weapons tend to be of slightly less destructive power than Imperial weapons, they can boast a higher rate of fire and pose no danger to their operators, as Eldar weapons do not overheat. Everybody has access to the same plasma weapons. I did not make special plasma weapons for the Tau, except for what wasn't covered already in Starfinder. And the weapons in Starfinder do not overheat. However, anybody can roll a Nat 1. If you roll a Nat 1, it really does not matter if you're Imperium, if you're Tau, or if you're Eldar. A natural 1 is a natural 1. So, I don't think there's anything we really have to do there. The plasma missile, on the other hand, it says it's capable of launching the standard crack missile like most missile launchers. I don't have a whole lot to say about this thing. I don't think there's too much that we need to do, but maybe we can revisit it later. Instead, I say we move on to something worse. Monofilament weapons. These use a liquid organopolymer compound to create a monomolecular wire net. These nets are created as the liquid compound exits the weapon before being directed at a target, inaccurately in the case of Shadow Weavers. The net is extremely hard to remove, as it is made up of molecular thick strands capable of cutting through unprotected flesh. The compound is designed to contract when disturbed, resulting in the victim slicing themselves apart as they struggle to free themselves. Although effective, it can be defeated by stronger forms of rigid armor. Okay. This is going on the war crimes list, by the way. This we actually have to do, though. So, we have Death Spinners, used by the Warp Spider aspect. They often carry dual Death Spinners in the artificial arms of their ritual armor. Therefore, the Exarch has their hands free to mount optional power blades. Okay. Since your hands are free, these Death Spinners, this is an armor add-on. You have to be able to equip in your armor. Monofilament Rifle is an upgrade. While similar process to the Death Spinners utilized by the rest of the squad, is a much lower rate of fire. The monofilament net is stored in an armor-piercing shell designed to pierce armor, then unravel inside the target. I need a minute here. I need a minute to process this. Okay. And Shadow Weavers, an indirect support weapon used by the Eldar, usually fielded in batteries of 3. Once fired in the air, the nets drop down on unlucky targets. While the strength and armor penetration of this weapon is similar to the Death Spinners of the Warp Spiders, it is dispersed in a much larger range, possibly disrupting entire formations. I have no idea how we're going to make that work. But okay. How are we going to do this? Let's start with the Death Spinner. So the Death Spinner, this is going to be an armor add-on. But it is technically a weapon, so we're going to put that there. Death Spinner 1, and then we will copy this down. I'm going to go ahead and borrow the 5 through 20 because this is a pretty specialized weapon. Damage is going to be super, super hard to figure out. For starters, let's go back and take a look at net launchers because I think there is actually a net launcher in here. And that's going to have to be our, that's going to have to be our first place to go. Okay, I don't know about a net launcher, but here we go. We have a knife fiber net. Alright, created from specialized nylon fibers that contract in response to struggle, knife fiber nets are weighted along the edges to more effectively entangle their targets. Okay. That is all it says? Really? That's it? Okay. But like... how do I know what the DC for the entanglement is? I wonder. Let's come here for a second. Maybe this has different information. So, equipment. I want weapons. Weapon manufacturers. No, I don't want that. Oh, no, wait, up here. Weapon, here we go. Weapons. These are going to be one-handed weapons under special weapons. So, special. Shurikens. Wow, there's actually a lot of shurikens in here. I could have come here for information on shuriken weapons. Still though, it's not bad. We're pretty well in line with this. More importantly though, knife fiber net. It's right here. Let's see. Created from specialized stuff. Yes, 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 yes. It does not actually say anything in here about what it takes to what it takes to get free of this. Huh. Okay, so we're really making this up as we go along. Alright, so what we're gonna do we have entangle here. Ah, here we go. Weapon special properties, entangle. Awesome. A creature hit by an entangle weapon becomes entangled until it escapes with an acrobatics check is DC 10 plus the weapon's level plus the attacker's dexterity modifier. Or a strength check, same thing. An entangled creature can attempt such a check as a move action. Some weapons, such as sticky bomb grenades, have a maximum duration for this effect. Yes! We got it. Okay. So, what we're going to do is... here's what we're going to do. The damage for this is going to be relatively light, I think. Although I say relatively light, I'm thinking D4s, so 1d4 slashing damage because it's going to cut into things. It's going to be 2d4 slashing, 44 slashing, and then 64 slashing. Okay? But here is the thing about that. I wish I knew how to put those little numbers on here for like super text and subtext. That's fine though. The range. So the range of a knife fiber net is only 10 feet, but that is because you probably have to throw the thing. We're shooting here. So, for the death, the death spinner, I think we'll give it a range of like 15 feet. That should be pretty adequate. It's not going to go that far, but, you know, it still works. Critical, it's not going to have criticals. Just straight up not having criticals. Capacity. Now this one I don't think we have any real information on, because it does not actually say anything more about these monofilament weapons than what we have right here. So we gotta make up a lot. Now it does say these things are usually used in pairs, so dual death spinners. So you would usually have double the ammunition anyway. Capacity... what do our charges look like? It's 20, 40, 80, and 100. I'm going to say 20, 20, 40, 40. And usage will be 1. The bulk doesn't have any bulk, because it's an armor add-on, and then we get into the specials. So the special is Entangle. However, damage, and I think this is where I'm going to put my asterisks. So we'll just put that right there. Okay. So the Death Spinner, and here's how we're going to do this. The Death Spinner entangles, and it only deals damage on a failed acrobatics or strength check to escape. So, if you get hit with the Death Spinner, okay, if you get hit with the web, you can actually just sit there. Because this thing says that it only really contracts when you move. So, let's see, before being directed at a target, it is designed to contract when disturbed, resulting in the victim slicing themselves apart as they struggle to free themselves. Yeah, so there you go. If you just sit there, it doesn't actually do any damage. So we'll do that. Also, I'm going to go ahead and say ineffective against heavy and powered armor. Oh wait, not just that. Well, no, yes, it is just that. I was going to say, what about shields? However, if this thing contracts and you threw it on somebody's shield, so they have some kind of energy shield around them, this thing could wrap itself around their shield. It could squeeze on the shield, do damage to the shield, and then when the shield goes down, it just falls down on the person inside of it. So, yeah. So it's just ineffective against heavy empowered armor. Alright, I think that works. I think that actually works pretty well. Is it the most terrifying weapon that I've seen? No. But I still wouldn't want to get hit by it. Alright, what's next? The monofilament rifle. Monofilament rifle. Copy that. It's going to be a two-handed firearm. Monofilament rifle. 1. We'll drag that down. We'll copy that down as well. Now, damage. Before we can really assign damage, we've got to understand what this thing does. So, while similar in principle to the death spinners utilized by the rest of the squad, it is a much lower rate of fire. And the monofilament net is stored in an armor-piercing shell designed to pierce armor and then unravel inside the target. Let's be honest here. That's a one-hit kill. Okay? That is a one-hit kill. As such, I feel like I am forced to treat it as a one-hit kill weapon, which I think we have already done up here, because it's not the first one we've seen. One of the first things we did was the Harlequin's Kiss. Now, the Harlequin's Kiss is basically just a spike that goes on your hand or your arm, okay? And when you punch somebody with it, the idea is that you stab into them, at which point it releases monofilaments into the target, and then it starts spitting them up like a blender, and it just kills you. I think we have to borrow the same concept here. As a matter of fact, I think that I can literally copy all of this. No, I can copy just all of this. Copy. Paste. Okay, because I don't see a whole lot of difference here. The only difference is that one of them is melee, the other one, this one is ranged. Obviously the bulk is going to be different. 2 bulk, 2 bulk, 2 bulk. But as for everything else, I mean, it's the same weapon. JP says 50, is that all? Wait, 50 what? What did I miss? 50 what? Now I'm genuinely curious. 50 what? What did I miss here? Never mind. Range. Okay, this actually does have a range. And so the range on this thing is keeping in mind that Eldar weapons do tend to be a little bit more short range, I'm going to say it's going to be 80 feet. 80 feet should be good. Capacity, though. Capacity and usage. So, batteries come in charges. I wonder if there's a standard for all the ammunition. Actually, there is. So, darts, flares, flechettes, mini rockets, rounds for small arm, rounds for long arm, heavy rounds. Actually, it'd be darts. So, these are technically be classified as like darts. So, I'm going to say 25 of them. So I'm going to say 25. Usage will be, of course, 1. There we go. So there's a monofilament rifle. Is it the best rifle of all? Not really, I don't think. Mostly because it is just that crit weapon. So it's like, how do you want to bother taking crits? And only crits. Like, I can see this weapon as being somewhat decent if you could really, really focus in on a critical build. So let's say that you pick up this weapon and you pick up things like improved critical, like the old improved critical. Like, if you came to me and said that you wanted the feat improved critical from, like, Pathfinder instead of Starfinder, because Starfinder's improved critical is just stupid. So if we come back to feats here, and I know we're running long on time here, I'm going to wrap this up here with the monofilament weapons. But combat feats, improved cleaving, improved critical. So improved critical requires you to be proficient with a weapon and have a base attack bonus of 8. When you use the selected weapon, your threat range is doubled. So if you were to take the weapon such as this rifle, which already has keen, which means that it has double the critical threat range. So it went from 5% to 10%. Then improved critical, which would take it from 10% to 20%. Maybe you could make this work. I don't know that I would use it, but somebody out there might. Alright, and then there is the Shadow Weavers. So the Shadow Weavers fire these things in batteries of 3. Once they're fired in the air, the nets drift down onto unlucky targets. While the strength and armor penetration of the weapon is similar to the death spinners of the warp spiders, it is dispersed in a much larger range, possibly disrupting entire formations. Okay. So essentially what we have here is a blast weapon. That's really all it is. It's a blast weapon. So this is called a Shadow Weaver. Shadow Weaver. This will be a two-handed firearm. I'm just going to copy this, actually. There we go. So, Shadow Weaver, 1. They need to get much more clever names, so if you have more clever names for it, just leave it in the chat and I'll probably add it, because I'm not thinking about it right now. Since it fires essentially the same nets, I think that I can go ahead and copy this. And we're just going to make a few changes. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that as well. We'll put that there. The damage, we'll have to have the asterisks. There we go. Now, one thing is it will need to have a blast effect. So, how do I format that? So it's blast, 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 blast. Okay, they don't seem to make any kind of special modifications, but here. Blast. This weapon fires in a cone that extends only to its first range increment. Oh, no, wait. I don't think I want blast. Never mind. Explode. That's probably what I want. So, explosives have the explode property, which lists the amount of damage the explosion deals, the damage type, special effects. Let's see. Each creature within the blast takes the listed damage. If the property has any special other than damage, they are negated with a successful throw. This is just entangling. But I see here explode 10 feet, explode 15 feet. Yeah. So we're going to do that. This is going to be entangle and explode. I'm going to go ahead and say 5 foot. Explode 10 foot. Explode 15 foot. And explode 20 foot. Now, I'm going to assume that these are radiuses. That means that... Let's get rid of this thing here. That means that when we're talking about doing this, we have... draw... ellipse. That's fine. So we have essentially your person, or your target, which is right here. And then 5 foot. And then 10 foot. 15 foot. And then 20 foot. I'll just put that right there. So that's what that I think would look like. So that's your target. Assuming you hit your target, you get to net everything in these 8 of the squares, and then further out and further out and further out. However, again, even though you might be caught in it, and it will absolutely entangle, we have to keep in mind that it is also ineffective against heavy or powered armor. So while you can capture a lot of people at once, if any of them are wearing heavy or powered armor, then you've only entangled them. That being said, Entangle is probably one of the most abused spells in fantasy for a reason. If you can stop your enemy from moving, you can kill your enemy. So honestly, this thing is kind of ridiculous. Because it is a two-handed weapon, as far as I can tell, I'm going to make it 2 bulk. And everything else, oh, right, I'm also going to change this. It's going to be a 30-foot range. JP says, exploding shurikens? No. No exploding shurikens. We already looked at that. I ain't doing it. JPL says, though, that's a lot of amputees. It very well could be. However, I am not playing with maiming rules, so Nobody's going to be an amputee unless you really ask for it. I love maiming and mutilation rules. Most players do not agree. Most players would rather I just kill their character rather than cut off their arm. But that's because most players just want to be the hero, and they're more interested in winning than they are in telling a good story. I personally would love to see the story of like the one-armed swordsman. I actually made a character like that, so I'm a little bit partial to it. But okay, that is it for the monofilament weapons. After that, they have grenades, haywire grenades, those are just EMPs, plasma grenades, we've already got them. Hallucinogen grenades are just poison grenades. Do we already have those? Where are grenades? Ammunition, special weapons, here we go, grenades. We have cryo grenades, decoupler grenades. These are, say, nanite cloud? Oh, these are corrosive grenades because they use nanites. So they're basically acid grenades. Flash grenades, they're just flashbangs, really. Frag grenades, we know what those are. Incendiaries, we know what those are. Pheromone grenades. Let's see. Scientists understand little about the Vrachnia's paralyzing scent effects to the brain. Weapon designers across the galaxies have been inspired by its efforts. When burst, a pheromone grenade deals no damage, instead dispersing a powerful cocktail of supercharged pheromones and magically modified mind-altering chemicals in the listed blast radius. Each creature that inhales the pheromones, which bypass even active environmental protections of a suit of armor, must attempt a will saving throw. Creature that fails, they gaze in wonder at the sparkling trails that only they can see. A creature that succeeds and saves is immune to the effects. So it's not really pheromones such as it is just a psychotropic grenade. Hallucinogen grenades. Support them in charge. They release a large cloud of drugs which disrupt enemy infantry and have the same effect as multiple plasma grenades. I mean, that sounds pretty damn close to me. I think we can skip that one. And Eldari Meltabombs, they're just powerful grenades that do armor piercing. So that brings us to vibro cannons. Sonic-based weaponry. We've already got it. Fusion weapons. We already did that for the Tau. The Tau have fusion weapons already. We can copy that. And this says they're similar to the melta guns used by the Imperium. There's also an improved fusion weapon called a Fire Pike, which boasts enhanced range. There's also a fusion pistol. So maybe we can copy some of those over, but we've already got fusion weapons. Projectile launcher, they have a missile launcher. I mean, we did that. Tempest launcher is a rare weapon carried on by Dark Reaper Exarchs. It differs from the standard launcher in that it can saturate an area with small armor-piercing missiles. Okay, I mean, that's cool and all. And then we get into special unique weapons. I don't think we need to do these. I think we're done. I really think that we're done with this. Everything else we've basically already either done for another race and can be adapted, or we already have it in base Starfinder. So we're good. We're done. We're done with the Eldar weapons. Is there anything else down here? There's all their vehicles. Elder Titans, spacecraft. Nope. Looks like there's no additional war gear we need to worry about. So next week, we will start going into their vehicles. And if we can knock out their vehicles pretty quickly, we'll get into their Wraith Lords and things like that, which are going to follow kind of the same rules as vehicles, but a little bit different. They're going to be pretty unique. But yeah, we're making progress. Weapons, done. JP says just a flesh wound. Okay, last tangent before I get out of here. The only 5e game that I ever played, I have only ever played Dungeons & Dragons 5e once. I was actually a player, not the DM. But somebody invited me to play, and I said, sure. Can I make a character? Great. The character that I made, I thought was incredibly clever. So I played a retired, or kind of semi-retired, wizard. So it was a gnomish wizard, and what he had done is in his past, his backstory here, he had gone out with a party. They were going to slay a chimera. Okay, they figured we go out, we slay a chimera, we're going to be heroes, we're going to be lavished upon, we'll have money, riches, fame, we're going to have everything, okay? We are going to be the chimera slayers. And so they all met in a tavern, you know, like you usually do. They picked up my wizard along the way, they went out to fight the chimera. As a level 1 party. I wonder, do I have a chimera in here? Let's check the bestiary. C, CA, CO, CL, CH. Is a chimera not in here? No, there it is, chimera. There we go. This winged monster has the body of a lion, though two more heads flank its central feline one, a dragon and a horned goat. It is a challenge rating of 7, which if you don't understand that means that this would be an appropriate encounter for a 4-person party of level 7 adventurers. For a party of level 1 adventurers, this is guaranteed suicide. Which is exactly what happened in my character's backstory. So they went, they found the beast, they tracked it, there was a barbarian, there was a ranger, there was a rogue. Okay, they went, they had a great time, they were, you know, great friends, they had stories to tell along the way, they camped together, they ate together, they fought off bandits and things like that. Alright, thought they were really hot shit. Then they found the chimera, and they tried to fight the chimera. The first thing it did is it basically chomped one of them and flinged them into a tree. They're dead. One of them panicked and the thing pounced on them, mauled him. Then, when morale broke and they all tried to run away, the barbarian tried to buy time. However, the next thing that happened is the dragon head turned to my character and shot a cone of fire. My character reached up with its hands and tried to block the fire, and through a magical burst of energy actually succeeded in blocking most of the fire. However, my character's hand was incinerated off. So, stump. However, how did my character compensate with that? Well, first off, retired from the whole adventuring thing and said, yeah, not for me. Secondly, though, my character was a wizard. And wizards are allowed to cast cantrips. They are allowed to cast as many cantrips as they want in a day. There's really no limit on them. My character, who was missing a hand, used the spell Mage Hand to compensate. Mage Hand being a spell that allows you to... Let me go ahead and just pull it up here. Wizard spell list, here we go. Cantrips. Illusion. No. Oh, there it is. Transmutation. Mage Hand. Oh, it's just telekinesis, but it's only 5 pounds. Okay, so telekinesis. You move objects and creatures by concentrating on them. Once the version is selected, the spell can provide a gentle, sustained force, provide a variety of combat maneuvers, or exert a single short, violent thrust. But because it's Mage Hand, it's limited to 5 pounds. But 5 pounds is generally all you need in your daily life. It's enough to hold a pen, because my character was a teacher. It's enough to pick up a book, to open a door, to do just about anything you want. And not only that, but because Mage Hand has a range of, 400 feet plus 40 feet per level, my character could not only pick up a book on this table, my character could pick up a book on that table over there. So my character was able to compensate for not having a hand through the use of a very simple cantrip. And everybody else thought it was a very clever idea. Also, since my character was a wizard, my character had a familiar. Who was that familiar? My character had a crab. A crab is a familiar. Why? Because crabs have pincers. And therefore, a crab can augment my character's disability by picking up very small objects, like retrieving a piece of paper, retrieving a pen, retrieving a small pouch. See, it's the little things like that, by giving your character some kind of disadvantage and learning how to compensate from that, that you can create some of the most unique characters you will find in fantasy. Nobody really cares about your bog standard fighter. Give your fighters something different. There's a reason why there is the legend of the blind swordsman. Somebody who has such keen senses and reflexes that they can match blades with even the best knights who can see, despite the fact that they can't see anything at all. Tales of, of people who are like cat burglars, but they're missing a leg. And so they're able to do these parkour maneuvers despite the fact that, they shouldn't be able to. It's my opinion that when it comes to tabletop gaming, adversity breeds creativity. And so it's why I will put my players into situations where I don't necessarily have a solution. I know there's ways out because I will make the traps imperfect on purpose. But there won't necessarily be one solution. It will be up to you to figure out how you want to get out of it. And to that end, I will be expecting you to use every single tool you have in your kit. Like, did you fall into a deep pit? Okay. Well, how do you get out of the pit? Do you have a ladder? Probably not. Do you have a pole that you might be able to climb up? Maybe not. Did you bring shovels? Maybe you did. Can you use a shovel to dig out footholds in the side of the wall and climb up that way? Maybe. You will be adventurers, you will have tools, you will have magic, and you will have your brains. It's one of the reasons why I stand by the rule that you cannot play a character smarter than you are. You are the smartest your character will ever be. And it's up to you to use your intelligence, your wisdom, your charisma, your creativity, your intuition, your instincts to make your character the best they can be. So, to that end, Tuck says, I mean, if you can grow the arm back, it's fine. Maiming without possible recovery is kinda bad. I'm not going to say it's not. Okay? Although that is a good point. You can absolutely regrow a limb in most fantasy environments, and if we're playing something like Starfinder, you can have your limb replaced with a bionic. There's always alternatives. But most players don't want to go through the hassle of having to do that. I am of the exact opposite opinion. I think that struggle, effort, exercise, all of these things make the characters better. But I can't make you do anything that you don't want to do. So if nobody wants to play with those rules, then we won't do it. It's fine. I mean, I haven't had a group that wanted to do it yet, and it's not going to ruin my day if I don't have a group that doesn't want to do it in the future. But who knows? We'll wait and see. I mean, especially when we play Starfinder games, because then we absolutely do have bionics, and people might be looking to chop off their own arm willingly. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, we've already run long on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. If you have enjoyed this and you want to see more like it, then make sure you hit the bell icon or the subscribe button. You know, that way you are actually going to get things for this. Hit the bell icon so you get notified. If you hit the bell icon but you don't hit subscribe, in fact, I don't even think you can do that. But if you could, if you hit the bell icon, it won't work without the subscription. So subscribe first, then bell icon. If you know somebody else who is also into tabletop gaming or Warhammer 40k or any of the other stuff that I've done so far in general, or if you think that they might be interested in playing with us, then share this video with them. If nothing else, this kind of content is great to just leave on in the background while you're doing other stuff, and then you can look over if you see something interesting. Otherwise, though, if you just like me, leave a like on the video. If you want to leave comments, you can do so in the chat, you can do so in the comments below, or even better, you can come to the Discord, you can join us on the Discord and leave comments there. Especially if you want to join us, if you want to actually play the game with us once I have enough players, then get on the Discord, because you have to. Go to the Behind the Screen channel, and let me know what your availability is. Oh, and Tuck says, well, shit, I'm going to play a dude with a concave skull if that's the rule. Well, I mean, it's possible. But maybe see if you can get the cleric to take you to the nearest temple and they can fix you up, okay? I mean, there are some things you might want to make a priority. That's one of them. Anyway, though, it's fine. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to let you guys go. So, thank you all for coming out here. I look forward to seeing you again for the next tabletop stream. This is honestly kind of the highlight of my week. So, I will see you next time for the Eldar. And until then, take care.